the secret world of Russian prison tattoos. Here, everyone is marked, and each drop of ink has a meaning.
This is a thief. That's what a spider crawling up on the right side means.
These symbols are a language of their own.
6-point stars. Only very high-ranked people can get this tattoo.
Each body tells a unique story of time served and crimes committed.
She started yelling, "Don't kill me, I'll give you everything." We just simply wanted to punish her.
Throughout history, those shunned by society have sought unity, creating a language of allegiance and rank through the ink embedded in their skin. Moscow, Europe's largest city. Criminal activity here is rampant. Russia ranks second only to the US in the number of prisoners per capita.
Historically, pretty much everyone knows someone who's been in prison, or they've been in prison themselves. You've got to remember that in the 50s, 60s, if you stole a cabbage or some corn, you might get sent to prison for 5 or 10 years.
Prisons are known here as the Zone. Notoriously overcrowded, they're far more vicious and deadly than those in America. Here, death truly is around every corner.
It was very hard to be in prison since all of the prisons and cells were packed, literally. People took turns to sleep in shifts, and there were more than 100 people in the cell.
These prisons are controlled by a notorious gang known as the Vorzaka, or Thieves in Law.
Thieves in Law came about with the start of the Gulag system, and it was a way of thieves working together so that they kind of got the best out of that system for themselves.
The Thieves in Law sit at the top of a complex hierarchy.
They have a whole setup where they're the top of the pyramid, and the rest of the pyramid kind of works around them.
The bottom of the hierarchy is where the weakest prisoners, known as the downcasts, can be found.
Once a prisoner is branded or lowered, then it's almost impossible for them to move out of that caste. They would even have specific cutlery, specific chairs that they'd sit on. They live a completely separate life from the other prisoners.
The Thieves in Law maintain control through an intricate language of tattoos. Stars, epaulets, cathedrals, eyes, skulls. All communicate ranking silently.
It's very important for a convict to have these tattoos on his body because they show his status within the prison system. The whole tattooed body is referred to as a top coat and tails. If you don't have any tattoos on your body, the criminal fraternity consider you worthless.
The object of this system is to convey power. But before a prisoner can ink his body, he must prove himself.
Во-первых, это статус.
First of all, it's status.
Нужно поставить себя так.
You have to present yourself so that others notice you.
Это смерть.
This is death.
Рукой убиваю.
I kill with the left hand, and I forgive with the right hand.
Roman Vladimirovich wears the marks of the Thieves in Law. Marks he had to fight hard to get. Roman was in jail by the time he was 20. He never backed down from a fight, no matter the odds.
Once I was alone and there were 13 of them. They beat the out of me, that's for sure. But I did send 4 of them into the intensive care. What else can I say about that? Nothing.
His first crime, selling weapons illegally.
I wanted to sell grenades, RDG-5. These are military grenades. And I also had a gun. And well, somebody, I'm not gonna say, they ratted on me.
When he was sent to prison, Roman immediately attacked a prisoner who was marked with one of the most powerful thieves' tattoos.
In prison, only the strongest survives.
По этапу я человеку нож.
Once, I wounded this guy with a knife in his leg because he was trying to show off, so to speak.
Ё-моё, там, то есть, ну, вот, как-то вот так вот.
The gang said to me, come over here, we need to talk.
Ну и встал, он говорит, встань.
And so I got up when he told me to get up. I consider myself a real tough guy. And this guy that I upset, he just slapped my face. And he had stars on his knees, these kind of stars.
No tattoo is more important than the thieves' star. Depending on the location on the body, the stars convey a prisoner's status. When worn on the knees, the stars are a sign of a prisoner who commands respect.
Their meaning is, I will never get on my knees in front of anybody.
Although they might make you a target for the authorities, they showed the other criminals that you weren't afraid of the authorities, and showing that, you know, you've got bravado and you're a person of strength.
Stars on the chest mark an even higher rank. Only the most respected can wear the thieves' stars here.
Можно я покажу?
Can I show them?
Roman earned his stars with just 6 months left on his sentence when a guard confronted him in his cell.
И сказал, ну что, Роман?
He entered and he said, so, Roman, soon you will be released. And I said, yes.
Он говорит, ну как же? С нечистой.
And he said, how? With your dirty conscience. And he did not have time to finish his sentence.
Ну, я ударил.
I simply hit him from the right or the left, I don't remember. Bottom line, I broke his jaw. He was taken out on a stretcher. I was put in solitary. I was beaten for 12 days and nights.
Roman wears the scars with pride.
I have 9 stab wounds.
Здесь 3.
3 here, 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 3 here, 2 here.
Этим вот левым.
My
и
left
правым.
hand has been broken in many places. My right hand has been broken too, but not as bad.
Roman paid severely for his confrontation with the prison guard.
I was all black and blue. I could barely walk. These guys were almost carrying me.
Taking on the guard earned him respect,
Ну, за это
He
и-
got what he deserved.
and Roman got his stars. The penalty for wearing stars that are not approved by the thieves-in-law can be severe.
Если я заеду с воли в тюрьму,
If it's my first time in prison, and I have thief stars, and I've never done time, and I have those stars, they'll just kill me.
Означает, как вы знаете,
This sign, as you know, is the sign of the devil, the satanic number 666.
Nikolai Denisov spent more than a decade in prison. His first sentence was for stealing food.
когда я
When I went to jail for the first time, I went there because I stole government property. We stole 2 sacks of cabbage from a collective farm field. For that, I was given a year.
Petty thievery was just the beginning for Nikolai. His body tells the story of a much darker criminal past.
сделать себе
I made these marks on myself.
место.
An unthinkable murder.
We dragged her into the kitchen. She started yelling, don't kill me, I'll give you everything.
Nikolai is now ready to tell his story for the first time.
Но в тот момент, когда
At that moment, when we broke into the apartment, this devilish anger awakened inside of me.
то есть я
I
увидел,
just simply saw a dead body.
Marked is decoding Russian criminal tattoos. Complex images of rank, religion, and rebellion. The practice began in the 19th century.
In 1846, they branded criminals with the word cat, which is short for katoznik, which means hard labor criminal. That branding across the face told everyone what that person had been. And since that date, the word cat has come to mean like a scoundrel, someone who has no morals, for whom nothing is sacred.
Over time, convicts embraced these images.
The original brandings were viewed as a kind of caste marking by the criminals. So in a kind of perverse sense, they became proud of those markings.
In the 1900s, prisoners began to mark themselves. Portraits of Soviet leaders Stalin and Lenin were among the most common early tattoos.
Criminals believed that if they tattooed images of Stalin and Lenin on their chest, this would protect them from the firing squad, because the authorities wouldn't shoot at any images of their leaders. This really wasn't the case, because generally they just get shot in the back of the head.
With the rise of the notorious prison gang known as the Thieves-in-Law, tattoos became more important and more complex.
These criminals really are illustrated men, and the images tell the complete life story of their criminal activities on their body.
Russian prison guard Danzig Baldaev secretly recorded and decoded prison tattoos for more than 3 decades.
At one stage, the KGB found out about him, but they supported his work because they realized the value of knowing what a criminal had done by being able to read the tattoos on his body.
The guard's images were collected into a 3-volume encyclopedia that serves as the most valuable tool for deciphering criminal tattoos.
It's an incredible job of allowing us an insight into being able to read those images.
At the Church of St. Nicholas outside Moscow, Father Alexander watches over former convicts.
Люди, которые приходят, освобождаются на...
People who are released into the world, no one wants to deal with them for who they are. This problem, of course, exists everywhere in the world.
The criminals who live here illustrate the history of the Russian penal system.
Вот Николай, вот Сергей.
Here is Nikolai and Sergei.
Здесь находится...
They've been here for about half a year. Sergei committed 4 murders. He was in prison for a very long time, 30 years.
Like many former prisoners, he is reluctant to show his tattoos.
I'm not going to take my clothes off. I'll only show you what's on my shoulders and my back.
Okay, I'm speechless. Don't get any more. You understand me, right? What else do you have there?
A demon.
A demon. This is horrible. It's scary to look at. That's why all your deeds in the past were devilish. Are you repenting?
I do, Father.
Thank God. Kiss the cross.
While Sergei has just a few tattoos, his roommate is a walking catalog of criminal ink. Nikolai Bogatiev is a career criminal. At 52, his body tells the story of his life outside the law.
It's very important for a convict to have these tattoos on his body because they show his status within the prison system.
Death to cops. That's from a bullet injury. And here I have, if you don't do right, they won't do you wrong.
Nikolai's ink speaks volumes. Epaulets are used to signal rank within the Thieves-in-Law. Captains, lieutenants, and colonels.
The epaulet, that indicates that I'm a bandit. Everyone tattoos according to his place in the prison society. That's teeth paired at the Soviet Union.
Snarling tigers, leopards, or wolves, known as oskals, the Russian word for big grin. These images express hostility toward the authorities. Nikolai's disdain for authority is clearly inscribed across his chest.
I'm a slave to fate, but no lackey to the law.
And on his back.
I cannot step to either side. The law has taken aim at the back of my head.
Bodies are often adorned with personal inscriptions. I live in sin. I'll repent when I die. Hurry up and live. Keep love.
That's hurry up and live.
The most telling is the ink on Nikolai's shoulder.
Well, this is a thief. That's what a spider crawling up on the right side means. When the spider is climbing down, that means I'm done with the criminal life. When it's climbing up, it means I'm not done robbing. It's going up. But I'm already an old man. It ought to be turned around.
Nikolai is living a clean life, but the tattoo on his back records his past offenses.
Each dome on the cathedral is a term that he spent in prison.
On Nikolai's back, 6 church domes. For the 6 sentences he served. The cathedral, or Kremlin, is one of the most iconic inked images.
The most interesting ones are the ones that are on the legs or the hand. And then if that hand has a manacle on it, it means the terms were over 5 years. Those to me are a weird combination of images.
The cathedral tattoos. Religious iconography hiding the sinister nature of hardened criminals behind breathtaking works of art.
These people never worked with professional tattoo machines. They always worked with homemade ones. I think that's an incredible skill.
Karen Vartanov is a former drug addict. While doing time for robbery, he immersed himself in the rebellious images of the thieves.
The design was more sophisticated and beautiful because there were prison tattoo artists there, and those guys were making some amazing drawings.
His criminal career started early.
The first time I was detained, I was 6 years old. I had a slingshot in my hands, and I shot at the cops. I was aiming at the cops' asses, so they caught me and took me to the precinct.
His fascination with ink began soon after.
I made my first tattoo when I was 14 at school, during my classes. It was done with an ordinary sewing needle, which I borrowed from my mom along with some thread and ink. You take a needle, wind the thread around the tip, soak it in the ink, and prick the skin. My first tattoos were very simple. A letter A, which stands for anarchy. Here are the tattoos I made when I was in school. Here is the anarchy tattoo. Well, you don't have much sense when you're 14.
Karen's addiction eventually led to a savage beating from the Russian police.
There was a car standing here, and I broke its window and took the radio out of it. When I was taking it out, I saw out of the corner of my eye flashing lights. I was afraid and thought, this is it. You've done it now. There was a girl with me, my accomplice. We ran up to the entrance, and we were caught by the agents. And here we were put face down on the ground. We were beaten. Here you can't get by without being beaten. If they catch you, then they punch you in the face.
The beating only fueled Karen's anger. For stealing the radio, Karen spent more than 2 years in prison. His back displays his disdain for the law.
This is the bulldog showing his teeth. Grudge. A grudge against the government, against life, against all this lowlife.
While inside, he refined his skills as an artist, defying the rules of the guards.
I was caught once making a tattoo at night. They beat me with batons. A lot of scary stuff can happen.
Может произойти много чего.
On the one hand, it's all funny. But on the other hand, it makes me want to cry.
Russian prison tattoos, rich in history, charged with symbolism. Now marked reveals how this spectacular ink is created using only the crudest instruments.
It was in prison that I first took the tattoo machine in my hands.
Karen was high when he inked this tattoo.
I tattooed this when I was in the prison hospital.
Заболел, у меня было воспаление легких, я уже прошел на выздоровление, обожрался.
I got sick with pneumonia. When I was getting better, I got high on some pills and made this tattoo in 1 hour. I tattooed it here, right up to the eagle's head.
This type of ink is known as bardak, meaning chaos. It represents an evolution in the coded messages of prison tattoos.
There are two distinct forms of tattooing. One is the traditional way, where the criminal follows a standard pattern, and then the new way, which dates from the 60s or 70s, where it's a much more random approach, where tattoos are placed all over the body.
Karen's bardak reflects his Armenian heritage.
Here it says in Armenian, God is with us.
And his hostility.
Here I have Japanese and Irish swastikas. Spades trumps. Spades also stands for spear or lance, meaning that Caucasians are tough. I'm Caucasian, so I'm tough, aggressive. So I tattooed the spades and I wrote spades trump.
Karen crafted these tattoos in prison using homemade ink and tattoo guns. Using an ordinary tire tube, he demonstrates how the ink was made.
You have to cut it up. You take the bowl. Usually it's the bowl that convicts eat from, and you can burn very fast. Usually it's done during the walk in the prison yard while cops don't see it. It has to burn through completely. Every piece has to be burned through. It must be powder-like. It'll burn completely now. There should not be a single piece left there.
In jail, boot heels are the best source of rubber.
The heel is more frequently used because you get a more saturated ink. That is the best ink. It settles, stays on the skin. You cannot remove it. It's almost burned through already. It'll turn out to be a lot of ink here. A lot.
The soot is then mixed with a liquid. In prison, this is commonly done with urine.
What is the urine used for? For antiseptic purposes. That is, so no infection would get into the person's blood.
The urine must be from the person who is being tattooed. Otherwise, he will be labeled a homosexual.
I cannot use my urine. Otherwise, he'll be a Let's go. I'll show you what else has to be done.
An old bed sheet is used as a strainer. The mixture is then poured through the sheet to sift out any impurities. And the homemade ink is collected. Then Karen builds a tattoo gun using items easily acquired in prison.
Nobody is going to give you the tattoo machine for you to use. You have to try and assemble your own tattoo machine. You take an ordinary toothbrush. You take a silk thread, hold it steady. You have to cut the head of the brush with the thread.
The rest of the toothbrush is then molded into a handle.
That's called prison welding.
Из такой заготовки
You take a motor from a Walkman or from a boombox and attach it.
или от магнитофона и прикручивать.
This is the tip. That is, you take a cap from a pen. You saw through a hole here, and you burn a hole for the needle.
Прожигается дырка, не пешни. Вот сюда вот вставляется.
You insert a lighter valve here, the valve from an ordinary lighter.
Sharpening the needle is next.
Игла. Делается
A claw or a needle. You make from a guitar string.
берешь ее, зачищаешь,
You sand it,
загинаешь уголок.
fold an angle, so there is a right angle.
От ручки берешь носик.
You take the tip from the pen, the part you write with. Take out the ball, and you use the lighter to fuse it, and then you carefully fold it. Then you insert it in here. Here it is.
Karen inserts the makeshift needle. He is not afraid to test the homemade rig on his own skin, re-inking his fading work.
Я сначала на себе ее пробовал.
First, I used it on myself. I tried, and it worked out. If I'm doing a lousy job, what are they gonna do? I could only get beaten for that. You did a lousy job. You get what you deserve.
Вот это иглу, когда был...
I got this tattoo when I was underage. This means I'm not submissive to the administration.
The images on Vyacheslav Yermanek's body are deeply coded with one message. I will not back down from anyone.
You can immediately tell that the person with this tattoo was in jail at some point.
He served time in Russia's most notorious jail, the White Swan.
It's just simply horrifying to talk about, even to remember.
The White Swan, Russia's most notorious prison. For the first time, Marked goes inside to see a gang of professional thieves who rule using a complex language of tattoos. Everything inmates here need to know is inked on their bodies.
Tattoos on the body are very important because when you're in prison, they show your ranking within the prison system. Basically, you're naked in prison, so you can still show that you are a person of importance by these tattoos that you carry.
Each body part is reserved for different images. Always visible, ink on the fingers conveys important messages.
The ring tattoos are very important because they showed the status of a criminal even when he was fully clothed.
Вот, и это самое.
And well, first I got one ring. It sort of means half of your life in prison and half of your life out of
Ну, а вот
prison.
это означает проход.
And this one means I passed through juvie.
Nikolai Denisov was recently released. He served 13 years for a horrified murder. He is covered with symbols reflecting his dark crime. Most of his tattoos are old and faded, but they still brand him as a criminal.
И обычно всегда.
Usually, anywhere you go, people pay attention to your hands. Aha, since you have tattoos, that means you're a convict.
Any ring tattoo seen by the general public, they would know that that person is a criminal. Vast majority of the population of Russia have been through prisons or gulags at certain stages, so a lot of people know that history within Russia.
On his ring finger, an intimidating symbol, shunning the law.
Вот этот перстень, допустим, он означает, как говорится...
This one means you honor thieves and not cops.
Tattoos that display hatred against authorities are common, even in the women's prisons.
The sign of a married life. That's when from a young age, you are constantly dealing with the cops.
This woman is asked to have her identity concealed. We will call her Nadia. She's just been released after 10 years behind bars.
I was released 2 weeks ago. Freedom is great. Freedom is heaven.
It's only been a few weeks since Nadia's release. At a karaoke bar outside Moscow, she sings a traditional prison song. Her fingers show that she is a career criminal. The cathedral means that she was born a thief. And on her forefinger, the cross of clubs.
Shine to the thieves, but not the cops.
Women are generally less tattooed than men, although some of their tattoos follow the same patterns. They use acronyms, and they also have tattoos that denote their professions.
Here it is. Men wear it here. This is an amateur tattoo, the grin of a baby lion.
A traditional oskal, or big grin. Seldom seen on female prisoners.
I was arrested for the first time when I was 12. I already started developing some skills, fixing locks and many other things. And the guys used my skills to break open locks quickly. They got me drunk with wine for the first time, and they told me open that door, so I opened it like they dared me. They went in and started robbing that place. They stole everything, and the fingerprints were mine. So they put me in prison.
Nadia has been in and out of prison ever since.
The wolf howling at the moon. And the moon is a symbol for the struggle between good and evil. They have meaning, but they're not even finished, because the administration was always in the way. So I had to drop it right away, because they would punish you for that. There is a cat, and there also should have been a sack and a $sign there. A cat in a sack means don't forget about brotherhood. It's a little bit amateur, because some of them were done in the wrong places.
Placement of tattoos is as important as the images themselves. The same image can mean different things depending on where it's inked. A woman on the chest is a sign of someone who has been initiated into the thieves and law. A woman on the stomach is the sign of a prostitute.
The spider. That's a thief's symbol, a pickpocket symbol.
Facing up, the spider shows that Nadia is still a thief.
If it's facing down, he's done thieving.
Nadia is determined to stay out of prison this time. She sings of the despair of prison life. Nadia is trying to break away from the endless cycle of criminal behavior. But finding honest work can be difficult because her tattoos forever mark her as a thief. Most Russian ink follows established patterns, well known among the criminals.
If I see a tattoo on someone, I will determine for myself based on his tattoos what kind of person he is.
Vyacheslav Yermanek was just 17 when he was sent to prison. His tattoos are marks of resistance, defying the authority of the Soviet regime.
This tattoo is a skeleton. It's better to have a skeleton for a friend than a cop for a friend.
His first tattoo, 5 simple dots, loaded with meaning.
This tattoo I got back when I wasn't even 18 yet, when I went to prison for the first time. You can immediately tell that the person with this tattoo was in jail at some point.
The 5 dots on the hand is a very simple tattoo. It looks like the 5 of a dice. but it actually stands for 4 watchtowers and the prisoner itself. That means that that prisoner has been in the zone.
Some images are reserved for teens. A tulip or a rose tangled in barbed wire or wrapped around a dagger is a sign of a convict imprisoned before the age of 18.
I got this tattoo when I was underage. This means I'm not submissive to the administration.
Vysheslav's tattoos mark him as a thief who will not back down to authority.
And there was an incident with the administration which wanted to move us to a different barracks. Since we didn't want to move to a different barrack, we sort of resisted the administration.
By standing up to the guards, he proved his strength to other convicts. His ink reinforces this.
Any skull. If a person has a skull tattooed on his chest or his body, a skull once meant and still means to bare your teeth at the Soviet power.
They were made to show that they weren't afraid of authority, and it was a kind of act of bravado which increased their standing within the realm of the thieves.
Defying the guards also earned Vysheslav a trip to Russia's most notorious prison, the White Swan. This prison is where convicts are sent to be broken.
It is said that Satan rules, and it turns out that it's really the case there. It's just simply horrifying to talk about, even to remember.
The Swan is a press prison. Inmates here are forced into crowded cells where they're encouraged to beat or press each other into submission.
People were not only maimed, but people were even killed. There was even one occasion when a person jumped into the sawmill, not being able to take the beating.
Vysheslav's skin was inked according to the strict code of the thieves, a code that he believes is becoming obsolete.
Before, you were held responsible for tattoos, and a prisoner got tattoos. It truly belonged to his status in this life. Now, prisoners tattoo whatever they want, and no one is responsible for the tattoos.
Since the fall of communism, the thieves no longer control the prisons or the tattoos. Prisoners now choose their own marks, portraits of dark criminal minds.
I made these marks on myself. You could say that it is now my blood type, 666.
Russian prison ink, a secretive and disciplined code of images. Since the fall of communism, new tattoos have emerged, darker and more disturbing than ever before. Marked decodes this new language.
This symbol is the small stamp of Satan.
Nikolai Denisov is an ex-con who lives in the city of Tver. His mother abandoned him when he was just 3 months old.
Here is my room. I live here. This is my bed table. I sleep here. My childhood was, how should I put it, not sugar-coated. My grandmother took me under her guardianship.
When he was 21, Nikolai was arrested for robbery.
When I went to jail for the first time, I went there because I stole government property. We stole 2 sacks of cabbage from a collective farm field. For that, I was given a year.
Inside, he tattooed himself according to the symbols of the thieves-in-law gang.
Here I have a star that means I won't be caught by the cops.
When Nikolai was released, his grandmother did not welcome him home.
When I returned from prison, she told me that I should leave, and there was nothing of mine there. I had to spend my nights in the forest by a campfire, and on the stairs, in the stairwell, and I had to go hungry.
Homeless, Nikolai plotted his revenge.
Это был 1995 год.
It was 1995, the 24th of June.
Мы встретились с моим, так сказать, другом. Вот. Ну, немножко за встречу.
My friend and I met and had a drink. And in the evening, I can see it now, it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. It was summer and light out. We just simply wanted to punish her.
Drunk, Nikolai and his friend headed to his grandmother's home.
I was overcome by such anger. Everything that had been building up, all of my nights on the stairs, all of my nights near the campfire, going hungry.
Она открыла дверь.
She opened the door. I shoved the door forward and she fell to the floor.
Она начала маленько там, как говорится,
She started to moan and scream. We hit her a couple of times, she went silent.
Она замолчала.
Then we dragged her into the kitchen. She started yelling, "Don't kill me, don't kill me, I'll give you everything." I said, "Gran, I don't need anything from you. I don't need your money. I don't need anything. I need just simply you understand that you turned me into a homeless person, and the time has come to pay for that." He was holding her by the hair in the kitchen and hit her head on the floor a couple of times. Even though she was, so to speak, so advanced in years, she was 72 years old. But she was still a relatively quick old lady.
И потом мы ее вдвоем
Then the two of us dragged her into the room, threw her into the bed, shut her mouth with a gag, so that she wouldn't scream. And we tied her legs with a rope, tied her hands to the bed, then we tied her throat with a shirt. Well, we simply put in a little too much effort.
Nikolai left. He returned to the apartment 2 days later.
То есть я увидел просто-напросто труп.
So I just simply saw a dead body. I called the police and told them that there had been a murder.
Произошло, короче, вот убийство. Вот. И после этого...
And after that, so to speak, I decided to skip town.
Nikolai spent 6 months on the run from the police. Finally captured attempting to board a train. He served 13 years in prison for the murder of his grandmother. Inside, he began to worship Satan. His ink shows his dedication.
Вот этот знак означает, как вы знаете...
This sign, as you know, is the sign of the devil, the satanic number 666.
И я, как говорится, стал больше склоняться в сторону, как
I
говорится...
started to lean more toward, as they say, the force of the devil.
Сделать себе вот эти вот... Нет.
I made these marks on myself. You could say it's my blood type, 666.
Nikolai feels no remorse for the killing.
You know, I don't regret in the least what I did. If a person treats me with kindness, a person relates to me with his heart, then I treat him the exact same way. But at the same time, for evil, I pay back with the exact same coin, evil. You know, I have this principle that a person should never be beaten. You either need to kill a person or not touch him at all. The pain my grandmother inflicted on me is very big trauma to the soul, and of course, for that, you need to punish a person very, as they say, severely. However, in general, I am a kind person. Generally.
While tattoos remain an important rite of passage in Russian prisons, it is clear that the time-honored symbols of the thieves are changing.
There are tattoos that criminals get, and there are tattoos that civilians get. This big difference is gone.
Everyone's tattooed, from pop stars to football players. And so tattoo has become a kind of fashion accessory. Whereas these tattoos speak of a time where a tattoo really meant something. And if you wore the wrong tattoo, it could mean death. So there's a lot of weight behind these tattoos.